December the 13th, 1981. A hurricane is brewing in the English Channel. Among them was Peter Bougourd.
There was a naval ship in the harbour in danger of breaking adrift or perhaps being blown down on the lifeboat. So I said to Annie, well, this shouldn't take long.
But out in the Channel, the Bonita's cargo had shifted, making her unstable. Rolling heavily and taking on water, she was being battered by 3-story waves and was starting to list. For the moment, the lifeboat, named the Sir William Arnold, was the only hope.
I was very pleased with myself, to be absolutely honest, because we were given a position where she was then. And I guesstimated her drift, and in actual fact we were only 10 minutes late, and I had to change course at the scene of the position I'd been given by 5 degrees, and we found her. If you know the lifeboat is coming, you're a much happier man than wondering what's going to happen next. And this is why I hated being late to casualties. Because if you say you're going to get there at 4:10 and you still haven't got there at 4:15, they start to think, are they really coming?
At the front of the lifeboat were John Bougourd and Peter Bougourd, who threw the heaving line in the raging seas.
Take men of more words than me to do it proper justice, I think, but there's the shrieking of the wind in the rigging, there's the driving sleet and snow going along horizontally, the spray. Oh, I've got mental first snapshots in my mind which have never changed, never left me.
On the deck, preparing to pull people aboard, were Alan Martell, John Webster and Richard Hammond. On the exposed bridge was coxswain Michael Scales at the helm, and Peter Bisson, who operated the searchlight. Mechanic Bob Vowles was in the wheelhouse, in charge of communications and tending to the injured crew member.
Well, I buckled to it with the charts, and I worked out that Brixham was only 27 miles away, whereas Guernsey was 60-something. So it was a no contest, it was Brixham for the night.
Assured that another lifeboat was on its way, coxswain Scales decided to head to Brixham after battling the sea for more than 7 hours. He, his crew and their lifeboat came in for great praise from those who had witnessed the rescue.
Consummate skill, absolutely wonderful boat handling. The Sir William was the best they ever built. That's of course, I think every lifeboat man says that. Ours is the best, but we know. Ours was the fastest. She sat the cleanest on the water at speed. We always thought anyway. But no doubt that somebody else would argue differently with regard to their own boat, but we loved her.
But the boat, they were fantastic, how they maneuvered the boat. It was just unbelievable. 50 attack they did on the Bonita before we all saved. They must have been so exhausted.
My wife was of the opinion that I wasn't worth a brass farthing in the garden for a fortnight. The fatigue was that deep. And all the crew were very similar. I was the oldest, I was the daddy of the crew at the time, and I'm probably the worst affected. But even the youngsters said that they were absolutely shattered for days. And believe you me, anybody that says a footballer is tired after 90 minutes in a cup final doesn't know what tired is.
The lifeboat crew headed back to Guernsey the next day, when the volunteers finally arrived home 25 hours after receiving the Mayday call. The island's media were waiting for them. Coxswain Michael Scales was one of those interviewed by the news later that day.
Well, it was a worrying time, but we're not worried for ourselves more than that. We're worried for the people that we're trying to rescue and trying to get them off in one piece, which we succeeded with most of them anyway. And we're quite happy to land them in Brixham.
Michael received the RNLI Gold Medal for Gallantry, the Lifeboatman's Victoria Cross, in recognition of his outstanding courage, initiative and seamanship. His crew were all awarded bronze medals for their role in the rescue.